Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, Say What's Real TV. Coming back to you with another review for Hulu's Reasonable Doubt. This is Season 3, Episode 6, No Church in the Wild. So we open up the episode seeing Wendy sitting in a chair with her arms tied behind her back. Then they show Monica tying up her feet, which would explain how she got rope burns on her wrists and her ankles when they found her body. She's crying, saying, "Why are you doing this?" And Monica with a distorted voice was like, "Because you're a lying ass bee, right?" And just like that, Ozzy wakes up out of this nightmare and he's putting water all over his face. So I don't know if he listened to what he heard in court and now that's in his subconscious and in his dreams, or Ozzy was actually there. But as he's trying to get his bearings together, here comes Monica out of the shadows telling him, "It's okay, I'm here." Like, girl, go home. So in the next scene, we see Eddie at one of his NA meetings and he's celebrating his 5th year of being sober. Jax actually showed up, giving a little support to her dad. So she introduces herself to the guy next to Eddie and she's like, "I'm his daughter." So the guy never says who he is to Eddie or tells her his name. He quickly says he's been talking about you since the first day he came to a meeting, talking about her in the Ozzy case and wants a picture as if he's a big fan. And the only reason we know his name is because Eddie says to him, "Lionel, this is called Narcotics Anonymous for a reason." She suggested that they take an old school picture that's not for social media. So after all of that, Jax congratulates her dad again and she heads back to work. Lionel looks at Eddie and asks him, "When are you going to tell her the truth?" He says, "I don't know. I'm not ready to break her heart yet." So Lionel tells him the longer you wait, the harder the break. Like, what is Eddie hiding that is going to be so devastating to Jax? So in the next scene, we see Bill and Jax over at Ozzy's house, and they're there to convince him that they need to put Monica on the witness list because they found a hole in her alibi, which I don't even remember hearing what her alibi was. And of course, Ozzy is hesitant about it, and Jax is letting him know, "Look, the jurors need to have someone else they can focus on besides you," and tells him that she's going to question Monica in a way that her answers will imply that she had the means, motive, and the opportunity to unalive Wendy. So Bill pulls Jax to the side and he tells her he doesn't agree with putting Monica on the stand because as Ozzy's abuser, there's no telling what she might say. Jax understood all of that, but she says once the jurors heard what Monica has done for Ozzy and to him, they're going to be looking at her as the suspect. So later on at the firm, Bill is in his office minding his business when the Siamese twins come in, Steven and Vince, and they give him some information that they want him to keep on the low. So they tell Bill about the larger firm taking over, which is going to provide more money, more opportunities, more politics, but they're trying to see about Jax. Basically, they really want to push Jax out altogether, and they're trying to find a way to do it, is what they're trying to do. But they say that she doesn't really play well with others, so they're evaluating her to see how they're going to move forward. But Bill, with his beanhead ass, decides to tell them that he told her that Monica wasn't a good idea to put on the stands and really kind of got pushed back from it and thought that it was pretty risky. So they were like, well, okay, well, we'll find a way to bring it up in the next meeting. So over there at the Stewarts, we have Lewis over there getting that meal cooked because we know it wasn't going to cook itself. Let Eddie tell it when Jax comes home. So she tells Lewis about her day and how she went to Eddie's NA meeting and even met his sponsor and showed Lewis the picture that the three of them took together. So Lewis starts looking at the picture all crazy like, oh, that's his sponsor. So Jax seemed pretty pleased with the meeting, pretty much giving Eddie the benefit of the doubt, saying after all these years, he may be finally on the right track. So she takes a phone call and he looks at his phone, looking at the pictures that he took back when he was on his Columbo Magnum PI last episode, and now realizing that he probably had this situation all wrong. So the next day at the firm, they're having the meeting with all the partners, and of course they want to know all about the Ozzy case. So Jax informs them that DA Chad is stepping away from the case, dealing with some mental issues, and we saw how he crashed out last episode, so he might as well take his behind back over there to Sisters and play Agent Watt because he can't handle Jax over here on Reasonable Doubt. Anyway, Mike Ortiz is going to be replacing him on the case. So the Siamese twins try to have all the sense in how they bring up Monica in this conversation, trying to tell Jax that it could be pretty risky putting Monica on the stand. After her last client she put on the stand almost cost her the case, Jax had to shut it down and let him know, well, it's a good thing that Monica is not my client. Vince now all of a sudden wants to change the subject while Bill's sitting over there in his chair squirming and looking stupid, and Jax peeped it. So after the meeting, we see Bill on the phone talking to Kendra about their dinner plans for later when Jax walks in and confronts him about talking about the case behind her back. He lies to her face and claims to be loyal and says you know how they are when it comes to high-profile cases. But he found a way to switch it up and get her off his back by saying he found it appalling the way they continue to question her, and he can see how that can make her paranoid, and had her questioning herself and basically falling for what he was saying. I'm like, Jax, girl, don't fall for that. But she eases up off of him, and he pretty much gets rid of her by saying he has to get ready for his date with his wife. So in the next scene, we see that Lewis and Jax, they're still in couples therapy with Dr. Webb. And in this scene, I realized just how selfish and judgmental Lewis is. His parents are coming into town and they're talking about having dinner, lunch, whatever with both set of parents. And he has an issue because he only wanted to be his mom, dad, and his brother Terrence. He really didn't want Eddie and Mama Lou there. Like, really? Jax pretty much describes his parents as being like the Huxtables, very professional, very kind of upper class, as opposed to her parents, not so much, which I feel like Lewis looks down on them. But she seems very positive about everything. She says this was her idea, and since Eddie didn't make it to their wedding, she thought it would be good for everybody to get together and finally meet each other. But Lewis, on the other hand, is being a spoiled brat, and he wants his parents to himself. And I'm guessing he thinks his parents will turn their nose up to Eddie because of his addiction the way he has. Dr. Webb seemed annoyed, if you ask me. He told Lewis it looked like he just waiting for the other shoe to drop and told him just to take the dinner at face value and enjoy the evening for what it is. That's it and that's all. So we get this real quick scene of Daniel following behind Christian, and she meets up with this random guy, and it's very apparent that they are familiar with each other the way they are all hugged up. Daniel seems quite shocked, as if he felt like he laid it down so good. Why is his boo thing meeting up with somebody else? But what I'm trying to figure out is, why is Daniel following behind Christian now? You've already slept with her. You should have been following her since day one. And I'm hoping now that he got a taste of the cookie, that his feelings don't get too involved, that he messes Jax up with this case. So we then see Bill and Kendra out on their date, and Bill is doing the damn thing. He's bringing the right flowers this time. He's ordering champagne, the best Dom Perignon. They're laughing, they're communicating, they're having a great time. He's asking her questions about her and not talking about himself. So he feels he's getting somewhere with Kendra. So later when he takes her home, Kendra is basically giving a ball of confusion for me, because it's like 1 minute you act like you want to kiss him and take him in the house. The next minute you're telling him you can't do it anymore. And he's like, well, what happened? I thought we were having a great time. So basically for Kendra, this is a cycle. This happens all the time, and it'll be another 6 months before they have this type of evening out together again, and she doesn't want to do it anymore. He pleads with her that when he makes partner, he'll have more time to prove himself to her. She gut punches him and tells him that she's contacted a divorce attorney, and Bill is devastated. He tells her that they can work this out, and she says, yeah, we can try, but at the end of the day, we know it's just going to be the same-ish, different day. Goodbye. And she goes in the house and leaves him out there in disbelief. So over at Ozzy's house, Monica is banging on the door like she's the police, and she wants to know why she being subpoenaed and what does she have to do with it. Ozzy really didn't give a damn about what she was talking about. If she didn't have no cake and balloons because today was his birthday, he didn't want to hear it. And he asked her, why are you so defensive? Do you have something to hide? So they pretty much accuse each other of unaliving Wendy, and she lets him know right before the police came to search his place, she found the bloody sweatshirt in his room, and he wanted to know, why were you in there? She tells him that's besides the point. She took care of it. He's telling her he didn't unalive Wendy, and she says she's not buying it. As they're going back and forth, Ozzy is saved by the knock on the door, which is his friends coming over with drinks and balloons to help him celebrate his birthday, because he can't go anywhere due to being on house arrest. So the friends, they're looking for some big booty 304s and some booger sugar, and Ozzy tells them, I got some good weed, but he wasn't doing anything else, but he was down for all the big booties. So at this point, Monica tries to leave and Ozzy stops her like, no, hold up. I need you to wrangle up some women since you like handling things. Make sure they're not recording, sign their NDAs, all of that kind of stuff so things don't get out of hand. She's like, it's too late for that. So later on, Monica, she gets all the strippers in there and she's sitting there watching every move Ozzy is making. And he's in there having a good time on the sofa with one of the strippers. They get up and they go in the bedroom and they're doing the damn thing. Next thing you know, Monica comes in the room and starts watching them, and he's watching her as he's banging the stripper, and now she's starting to please herself, putting her hands down her pants. She finishes what she's doing and she starts licking her fingers and starts smiling and laughing. He throws the stripper off of him and tells her to get out. I'm not quite sure what all of that was about. What I do know is Monica is very sick. She has mental issues and she needs help. And she still needs to be placed under the jail. It's like she wants to control his mind as if he's still 13. It just seems like she was trying to control the whole experience, like you're not going to have fun or enjoy this without me type thing. But at the end of the day, Monica needs her ass beat. So we get the scene where Jax and Lewis are out to eat with their parents. And Lewis's mom seems shocked to learn that Eddie has already met the grandkids. And Eddie took a bit of offense to that, like, they are my grandkids, like, what the F you mean? So Lewis's mom starts saying that she didn't mean it like that when Jax jumps in to try to clean it all up, while Lewis sitting there like, this is what I'm talking about. So Lewis, he changes the subject and tells his parents that him and Jax are trying to figure out when they can come down to Philly to visit. And his dad, the colonel from Meet the Browns, tells him that he meant to tell him he was moving to Florida. So Lewis is asking, are they selling his childhood home, and wanted to know did his brother know anything about it, and the mom told him it wasn't Terrence's business to tell. So she tells Lewis that the house is too big for her to be there alone, so she's going to get a condo. And Lewis wants to know, well, why would you be there alone? And it clicks in his head like, are the two of you getting a divorce? So they tell Lewis they are still married, but the dad lives down the street from her and they haven't shared a bed in years. So Lewis is mad because nobody told him anything. And the dad said, well, do you tell us any of your business with your marriage? And the colonel continues on and lets him know that they were grown long before he was born and don't need nobody's permission to live their lives. I'm like, woo, child. I guess he told you, Lewis. It was the irony of it all for me. You had your parents sitting real high up on this pedestal like they were perfect, all the while they are human and they go through things just like everybody else. So Eddie, he tries to break the ice and he's like, look, I gotta ask. And Jax is like, Daddy, please, no. Like she didn't want to be embarrassed. So he asked the colonel why leave Philly? Like you got the cheesesteaks, you got the Eagles, you got the Delphonics. And they like, what you know about the Delphonics? So when Eddie said that he opened up for them, they were pretty impressed. And they get into this whole bonding session with Eddie being very transparent about his usage and all of that, while Lewis sat over there heated. So I don't know if Lewis was more mad at the fact that life as he knew it wasn't as perfect as he thought with his parents and they were over there living apart and happy, or the fact that they're not as judgmental as he is and able to chop it up with Eddie and have a good time. So after the dinner, Lewis and Terrence are in Spencer's room and Lewis wants to know how Terrence is cool with what's going on with their parents. So Terrence tells him he doesn't love it, but at least they're liking each other again. So Terrence asked him what was he whining about and had to remind him that he was preparing himself to raise a whole bonus baby and asked him was that the picture of stability that he remembers growing up, and he couldn't say a word. And Terrence, always trying to be the voice of reason, tells him nobody knows really what they're doing here. But just like you wanted grace from Naima and Spencer, you should give your parents some grace. And he even included Eddie. So the next day in court, Mike has Christian on the stand and we find out that she is older than Ozzy. Mike wanted to know how often do they talk and she says every day. He's her goofy little brother, but he's also her best friend. So Mike is interrogating her about 2 unsent text messages that she sent Ozzy the night Wendy was unalive, saying, are you okay? I love you no matter what, and I know that it's not your fault. So of course he wanted to know what was the meaning behind some of these text messages, like what wasn't his fault. And she gets all emotional and starts crying and says that she's just nervous. But he twisted her words all up like a pretzel, like he really did something, but I wasn't impressed. I'm like, she's getting emotional, but that doesn't mean what you're saying is really providing evidence that something happened. So Jack, she gets up there and she takes her some tissue like, where's all these emotions coming from? Christian says that, she's just nervous. She says, well, why did you unsend the text? She said she didn't want Ozzy to feel like it was 3 against 1. One thing about Christian, she would come up with a lie quicker than a heartbeat. But nevertheless, Mike comes behind Jax with some more mumbo-jumbo trying to cross Christian up some more. He gets her all worked up and then he has to withdraw his statement and all of a sudden the prosecution rests. Christian then runs out of the courtroom hyperventilating and Daniel runs behind her talking about come with me. So he pulls her to the side and he wipes her tears away and she starts hugging him. Next thing we see, Crystal sees the two of them hugging and she can't believe it. She puts 2 and 2 together to realize that this is the so-called neighbor that Daniel has been talking about this entire time. So Jack, she calls Monica to her office and basically plays in her face. She tells Monica that she was right. She does live for this type of ish when it comes to her job. And pretty much convinces Monica that they need her on the witness stand and so does Ozzy. So Monica says that he's always needed her and always will and says that she's glad that her and Jax are finally on the same page and Jax agrees and they shake hands. So in the next scene, we see Sally and Jax out having drinks and Sally let her know that she was right. She finally served Chris some divorce papers. So they toast to Sally getting her power back and Jax being right. And all of a sudden, Jack spots Bill off in the cut. So he comes to their table and he can't seem to take his eyes off of Sally from the valley. Of course, she's flirting, so she asks him to join them. He goes to get his drink and Sally takes her ring off. And Jax is like, wow, what are you doing? Like, you just served the papers. So Bill and Sally, they're engaged in their conversation using all these sexual innuendos, and Jax is sitting there totally disgusted. Bill says he'll get another bottle of wine, but Jax is ready to go and she's looking for the check. Bill says he got it. So when Bill walks off, Jax tells Sally that he's married, and she was like, he is? I didn't see a ring. And that means no ring, no problems. So Jax wants to know why Sally is like this, and she says, 'cause I'm outside. She goes to the bathroom. Bill comes back to the table and Jax tells him Sally is going through a lot and she thinks it would be best if he goes home to his wife. So Bill understood. He didn't question Jax about anything. He told her to tell Sally that it was nice meeting her and told Jax he'll see her tomorrow at work, and he left. So when Sally came back from the bathroom, she's like, where did Bill go? Jack says home to his black wife. Sally got even more turned on, like, oh, his wife is black? Like, yes. So Sally said she knew it because she could smell the shea butter. So Jax called her messy, and Sally basically called her a negative Nancy and said that she'll call them an Uber. So Jax gets up from the table and she leaves her cell phone there while she goes to the bathroom. And I know this is for plot convenience, but it just seemed a bit unrealistic for Jax's character to leave it unlocked on the table like that. But nevertheless, Sally, she gets the phone and goes through Jax's contacts looking for Bill's phone number and apparently sent him a text, because we then see Bill outside when he receives it and it says it's Sally from the valley. So the next day in court, they put Monica on the stand. She gets in there looking like somebody's librarian, acting all smug like, I was this for him, I was that for him, I was everything for Ozzy Edwards, smiling like some little crazed unaliver. So we learned that Ozzy's father was the one that brought Monica on as his talent agent at the age of 13, and she goes on to list the things that she was supposed to be doing in that particular role for his career. So Jax wipes that smile off of Monica's face by showing her just how much of a beast she is when it comes to this courtroom and how she loves this ish. She hands her a text message that she sent to Ozzy and asks her to read it out loud. So the text said, you can date this new white 304 all you want, but I will continue to outlast all these bees. I was your first and I will be your last. So Jax asked her, who was the 304 you was referring to? She admitted it was Wendy. Jax also wanted to know, you mentioned you were his first. What did you mean by that? So she admitted his first sexual experience. So Jax said, well, how old was he? And she tried to go all around the mulberry bush so she wouldn't have to answer the question. And Jax wanted to know, was he a child? She said, oh, he wasn't a child. He was a star. Like that right there. lets you know just how sick and delusional Monica really is. So the judge had to finally order her to tell what his age was, and she said 13. And the jurors, everybody gasped. Ozzy's mom jumps up like she wants to wring her neck, and the dad is holding her back, and Ozzy sitting there having heart palpitations and sweating and about to lose his ish. So once everyone calmed down a little bit, Jax asks Monica, "Where were you the night Wendy went missing?" She gets hysterical and just blurts out, "I did not unalive Wendy." And Jax is like, "Well, who said that?" Jax had no further questions, and they had to calm Ozzy down because he was having a whole anxiety attack. So after court, Monica runs and catches Ozzy and Jax in the parking garage, and she wants to know how could he do that to her. And Jax tells her stay the F away from him, and she barks back, "I wasn't talking to you." So Ozzy wants a minute with her. So Ozzy pretty much tells her he's taking his power back from her, and he doesn't know why he was protecting her in the first place because he was the one working 18-hour days to take care of his family. He doesn't know what he could have been if she wasn't always in his head and on his Peter. And he also goes on to tell her that one thing he didn't know before that he knows now is that she's a criminal. She's like Chester the you-know-what. And he never wants to see her again. So she starts acting like a maniac, telling Jax it's all her fault, and tells Ozzy he's going to regret this for the rest of his life. And I'm like, she is real cuckoo, and y'all better take heed because she gives me, if I can't have you, nobody's going to have you. And I can see her doing the whole thing where she takes Ozzy out and then takes her own self out. And Jax needs to watch her back because she may just get revenge on her as well. So we see Lewis at work, and he calls Daniel and leaves a voice message saying that he no longer wants him to look into Eddie. He's had a change of heart, and Jax is happy, and he wants her to form her own thoughts about her dad. So in the next scene, we see Daniel sitting next to the guy that Christian was all hugged up with, and his name is Lincoln Culpepper. And of course, Daniel is playing in his face trying to get information. So we learn that he's a journalist, and Daniel asks him what is his next project. He says he doesn't know because he just lost a big-time story due to some BS politics, and says that his source, which he kept saying he, was going to tell the real story, and it wasn't so much about what he was going to say, it was what he had to show. So when Daniel goes home, he calls Alex. We pan to Alex. He doesn't answer the phone, but he takes this hard drive out of this book that he has and he puts it in, and we see Wendy come up on the screen. So apparently she must be the one that's on the home video that he was telling Christian about. So we go back over there to Daniel's, and he gets a phone call from Todd, the person he used to dig some information up on Eddie. Apparently, Todd gave him some juicy information because he hung up with him, and he immediately texted Lewis and said, "I got your message about calling off the investigation, but my guy Todd found something I think you might want to hear. Call me." So we get a real quick scene showing that Sally from the Valley and Bill were rumbling in the sheets. And I hope that these two married people are using protection. So in the last scene, Eddie goes over there because Lewis called him over. He asked him what was so urgent that you couldn't say it over the phone. So Lewis says to him, "I know the real reason why you're here." And Eddie says, "I know that we've had our differences, but please don't tell Jax until Mama Lou has a chance to." Lewis is baffled like, "Lou, what are you talking about?" Eddie gives him a look like, "What were you talking about?" So the next thing you know, Jax comes home and she sees the two of them sitting there, and all you hear is crickets. And she's talking to them and nobody's saying anything like, "What are you two just hanging out without me now?" Lewis looks at Eddie, Eddie looking at Lewis. So Eddie, he gets up, he goes over there towards Jax, and he says, "It's your mom. She has cancer." And Jax can't believe it. She gasps and she starts having this anxiety attack, and she's like, "Say what?" And that's where the episode ends. Woo, child. It was a lot going on, and we have a lot of questions. What did Todd find out about Eddie? Because clearly it had nothing to do with Mama Lou having cancer. But I will say Mama Lou kind of said it herself last week in the dialogue when she said, "Who are you going to blame when I'm no longer here?" I kind of peeped that, but we'll see if she's the one in the room later on in the season. But anyway, The video that Alex has with Wendy in it, who is she in the video with? That's the real question. And also, will Monica try to do something to get revenge on Ozzy and Jax? What do you guys think? Drop down in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts and theories are. As always, you guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.